So next we're going to talk about variables. Back on me for a minute because otherwise you'd just be staring at the same screen in Unity. All right, so let's talk about variables. What is a variable? A variable is basically a way to, it's a named way to keep up with some kind of value. It's named and you can give it just about any name that's not used by the system already, so that when you want to check on that value or update that value, you use that same name to access that thing. And that probably sounds pretty abstract. Let me give you an example. So let's say we want to keep up with a value called movespeed. So movespeed, there are two main kinds of numbers that you need to keep up with. And this is a super simplification, but primarily you're going to be dealing with integers or whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on, or floating point numbers or decimal numbers, numbers with a decimal point like 1.78, 2.3, 4.5, so on. So let's say we want to keep up with the move speed and we want to set a move speed of 4.5. This is how we would do it. Float move speed. This is the kind of variable. This is the name of the variable. And then we give it a value, like 4.5. So now, whenever we want to access move speed, we can say, hey, what is the move speed? And it says 4.5, yo. If we want to change it, we say, okay, now I want move speed to equal 3.8. And so now, move speed equals 3.8. Every time we ask, we say, hey, what's move speed? And it says 3.8. Now the F at the end stands for floating point because it's a float. Do another one. Let's say we want to keep up with the name of a person. Well, I've got my props here. That is going to be a string called name of person. Don't just call it name, because name is a reserved keyword, I'm pretty sure. Bad practice at the very, very least, because there are objects that have names, so you don't want to use name because it's one of those things. Just call it anything else, like name of person, string, name of person. String just meaning some kind of string of alphanumeric letters, numbers, characters, all that stuff. And let's say we want to assign the value of Greg. That's me. And so when we say, hey, what was the name of that person? It says Greg. So let's say that we're keeping up with these items by putting it in a box. So we're going to put name of person and move speed into a box. Boom. Okay, so we got a float and a string. Let's say that we have another one. Sometimes you need to check if something is true or false, and that's all you want to keep up with. Like, is the box empty? Well, then we use a bool, which is short for Boolean, which just means yes or no, 1 or 0, true or false. Is the box empty? That is false. If we dump out the cards, we'd have to set it, of course, but then, is the box empty? True. And so you can use Booleans to keep up with different things, simple things, and more complicated things along the way, to help you. More often than not, you will use it to check a condition, and we'll get into conditionals once we get into programming, which is next. Like you say, if this equals that, then do this thing. Otherwise, do this other thing. But you need to present it in such a way that it can come down to a true or false, yes or no. That's where the Boolean comes in. So the last kind of variable I want to cover is called an integer, also known as a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 873, 12,067, those are all whole numbers. There's no decimal point. So like int cards is 4. We got 4 cards. So hopefully that helps. And again, if we put all those cards into that box, for example, this box could represent a class. And so then you say, hey, box A, what is the name of the person? Or hey, box A, what is the cards? Or hey, box A, are there cards in the box, true or false? That's getting a little advanced, but well, it's not a great analogy, but it's pretty close. Anyway, that's variables. It's just a named way to keep up with something. There's a lot of different kinds, and even in Unity, we're going to talk next about game objects. You can also have we've talked a little bit about that. Game objects can be a variable. You can have a variable that is game object type, and then you can keep up with different game objects in your scene. It's cool. We're gonna get into a little bit of that shortly.